The first gunshot sounded like a car tire bursting, but it was not a tire, it was a bullet. And it was meant for Senator Bamidele Afolayan. The rally ground in Okeado, Ibadan, was hot that afternoon. Not just from the sun, the air itself was tense. People had gathered under colorful party umbrellas. Loudspeakers were shouting promises. Drummers were beating as if they were chasing spirits away. Senator Bamidele stood on the stage, waving like a man who believed tomorrow would still come. He was not always a rich man. He grew up in a two-room mud house in Oyo State. His father was a cocoa farmer. His mother sold akara by the roadside. He knew hunger. He knew what it meant to trek barefoot to school. He knew what it meant to study under kerosene lamp. But somewhere along the way, politics changed him. Politics in Nigeria does not just change people, it tempts them. As he spoke into the microphone that afternoon, promising better roads, better hospitals, scholarships, and jobs, a young man in the crowd was not listening. The young man's name was Musa. Musa was 23 years old, no job, no hope, no steady meal. He was wearing a party cap, but not because he believed in the party. He was there because someone had given him 5,000 naira in the morning and a small nylon bag of rice. His instruction was simple. Stand near the stage. When you hear the whistle, cause confusion. He did not know there would be a gun. He did not know there would be blood. The second gunshot came from behind the stage. People screamed. Women fell over chairs. Children cried. Men ran without direction. The bullet tore through the banner behind the senator's head. If he had not bent slightly to wipe sweat from his face at that moment, it would have entered his skull. Security men dragged him down. The rally ground turned into dust and fear. Musa dropped to the ground, shaking. He had never heard gunshots that close before. He saw a man collapse near the sound system. Blood spread on his white shirt like red paint. Suddenly, Musa understood something. This was not politics. This was war. That night, Nigeria did not sleep early. News spread fast. Social media burned with rumors. Was it opposition attack? Was it internal betrayal? Was it thuggery gone wrong? In Abuja, political elites sat in air-conditioned rooms discussing damage control. In Ibadan's inner streets, poor boys whispered in beer parlors. "Na politics, so," one man said, drinking burukutu. "Politics is dirty," another replied. But nobody wanted to ask the real question. Why are poor boys always the ones holding the knife, while rich men hide their hands? 3 days later, Senator Bamidele appeared on national television. Bandage on his arm, face serious, voice calm. "My fellow Nigerians," he said, "this bullet is not just meant for me, it is meant for democracy." He paused. "But we must ask ourselves, why are our youths being used as political thugs?" The room was silent. For the first time, he was not speaking like a politician. He was speaking like someone who had seen death stand beside him. Musa was hiding in his aunt's house in Oje area. He had not been paid the remaining money promised to him. The man who recruited him switched off his phone. The party office was locked. He stared at the 5,000 naira on the floor. That money could not remove fear from his chest. It could not clean the blood he saw that day. He remembered his mother's voice. "Musa, education is better than quick money." But school fees were not free. Hunger does not wait for lectures about morals. This is how vote buying survives. Vote buying is sweet at first. On election day, politicians share rice, wrappers, cash. Some share salt and seasoning cubes. Poor people line up because they are hungry, not because they are foolish. But here is the truth many don't say. When you sell your vote, you sell your voice. When you collect 5,000 naira for 4 years of leadership, you have already agreed to suffer quietly. The political class understands this. They know poverty makes people easy to control. So instead of solving poverty, some of them manage it. They keep the poor just poor enough to remain desperate. Senator Bamidele knew this because he had once done it too. 4 years ago, during his first election, his campaign team distributed cash in villages at midnight. Everyone is doing it, his advisor had told him. If you don't, you will lose. He convinced himself it was normal. But now, after escaping death, he began to question everything. What if the bullet came from someone angry about broken promises? What if the thug with the gun was once a boy he had bribed? In Nigeria's past, political violence has destroyed dreams. From the crisis of the First Republic to military coups to election clashes in different states, blood has often followed ballots. When politics becomes warfare, development becomes impossible. Roads remain broken, hospitals lack equipment, schools become empty buildings. The rich fly abroad for treatment, the poor pray. One evening, Musa decided to return home. He found his mother sitting outside their small house, fanning herself. She looked at him quietly. "I heard what happened," she said softly. He could not look at her. "I did not shoot anybody," he said quickly. "But you stood there," she replied. Her voice was not angry, it was disappointed. "My son, politicians will fight and settle, but poor people die." Those words stayed in his head like a drumbeat. Meanwhile, investigations began. Rumors pointed toward rival party members, but quietly, security reports suggested something else. The gunman was hired by someone inside the senator's own party. Internal power struggle. Greed, fear of losing influence. Politics at the top is not the same as politics at the bottom. At the top, it is about contracts, oil blocks, influence. At the bottom, it is about rice and transport fare. Two different worlds, same country. Senator Bamidele called a closed-door meeting. "This must stop," he said. But some party leaders laughed. "Politics is not church, sir." They reminded him of how elections are won in Nigeria. Money, force, manipulation. "People don't vote conscience," one man said. "They vote pocket." That sentence hurt him more than the bullet. As election season approached again, tension rose. Thugs began training secretly. Small arms circulated. Poor boys were promised motorcycles and jobs. Nobody mentioned what would happen after elections. Nobody told them they would be abandoned again. The cycle was repeating. But something had changed inside the senator. He began visiting communities without cameras. He sat on wooden benches. He listened. A widow told him her son died in election violence 3 years ago. A teacher told him students faint during class because of hunger. A mechanic told him he voted for 2,000 naira once and regretted it every day. "Sir," the mechanic said, "we are tired of surviving. We want to live." That sentence shook him. One night, Musa received a call. The same political agent. "There's another job," the voice said. "Bigger money this time. Cause chaos during opposition rally." Musa held the phone. He thought of the blood. He thought of his mother. He thought of the man that fell near the sound system. And slowly, he switched off the phone. For the first time, he chose not to be used. But refusal has consequences. The next morning, 2 unknown men came looking for him. Politics does not like disobedience. And as tension built across the state, it became clear the bullet that missed the senator was not the end. It was only the beginning. The knock on the door came before sunrise. 3 hard bangs. Musa froze. His mother looked at him, fear swimming inside her tired eyes. "I told you," she whispered, Politics does not forget. The men outside did not knock again. They pushed the weak wooden door open and entered like they owned the house. "Where is Musa?" one of them asked. He stepped forward slowly. His legs felt heavy. "You think you are wise now," the taller man said. "You refused work." Musa swallowed. I don't want trouble." The man laughed. "Trouble has already found you." They warned him, not with gunshots, not yet, but with promise. "If you talk, if you run to police, remember your mother lives here." Then they left. The silence they left behind was louder than shouting. Across town, Senator Bamidele Afolayan sat alone in his study. He had not slept well in weeks. Since the assassination attempt, he had begun seeing politics differently. The smiling faces at the top table now looked like masks. The handshakes felt cold. His wife had asked him a question the night before. Is this power worth dying for? He did not answer her because he did not know.
The truth about Nigerian politics is simple and painful. The political class and the lower class live in two different realities. In Abuja, decisions are made over imported wine and polished tables. In rural communities in Oyo State, people discuss politics while queuing for water. One class debates power, the other debates survival. Yet during elections, the two classes meet, not as equals, but as buyer and seller. Vote buying has created a dangerous market. The poor sell because hunger is real. The rich buy because power is profitable. And after elections, both sides suffer, but not equally. Senator Bamidele called a press conference. Journalists gathered quickly. He stood before cameras, serious. "I will not distribute money this election," he announced. The hall became noisy. One reporter asked, "Sir, are you saying others are buying votes?" He smiled faintly. "I am saying Nigeria must change." His party leaders were furious. "You will lose," they warned him. He replied quietly, "If I lose honestly, I will sleep better." Some laughed at him behind closed doors. Idealism, they called it. Foolish courage. Meanwhile, Musa could not step outside freely anymore. Word spread that he refused to work for the political gang. Some boys mocked him. "You think you are holy now." But deep down, some of them respected him. They too were tired. Tired of being used during rallies, tired of fighting with broken bottles, tired of police arresting them while politicians made calls and walked free. Thuggery gives young men false importance. During election season, they are called chairmen. After elections, they return to being nobody. If arrested, nobody remembers their names. If shot, they are buried quietly. The same politicians who give them guns will later speak on television about peace and unity. It is a cruel game. Weeks passed. Campaigns intensified. Opposition parties began spreading rumors that Senator Bamidele staged his assassination attempt for sympathy. Politics does not care about truth. It cares about advantage. Then one evening, something unexpected happened. A video leaked online. It showed a private meeting. Two powerful party figures discussing how to remove the senator before primaries. The voice in the recording was clear. They had feared his growing independence. They wanted control. The bullet was not from opposition. It was from inside. Nigeria was shocked. The political elite quickly denied everything, but damage had been done. In Musa's neighborhood, people gathered around a small television to watch the news. An old man shook his head. "So, this is how they play with us." A woman selling pepper spoke loudly. "And they expect us to fight and die for them?" That night, something changed in the air. People were thinking, not shouting, thinking.
Senator Bamidele received threats again. "Withdraw quietly," a message read. "Or next time, we won't miss." His security tightened. But inside him, fear was slowly turning into resolve. He began speaking openly against vote buying and thuggery at every rally. "You are not goats to be bought," he shouted once. "You are citizens." Some people clapped. Some looked unsure. Because when a man is hungry, dignity feels like a luxury. So he did something different. Instead of sharing cash, he launched small community programs quietly, skills training, microloans monitored properly, scholarships funded transparently. He told communities, "Hold me accountable. If I fail, remove me." It was risky, but seeds were being planted. The night before the party primary election, violence broke out in another part of the state. Two rival groups clashed. One young boy died. He was 19. His mother fainted when she heard. Politicians sent condolence messages online, but they did not attend the burial. For them, it was statistics. For his family, it was life. That is the true disadvantage of political thuggery. It destroys the future of young men. It gives them criminal records instead of careers. It normalizes violence. And once violence becomes normal, democracy becomes weak.
Primary election day arrived. Many expected chaos, but something unusual happened. Youths in Musa's area refused to be hired. They organized themselves and told political agents, "No money, no fight." The agents were shocked. "What changed?" one asked. Musa stepped forward. "We are tired." It was not a revolution. It was not nationwide, but it was a beginning. At the primary ground, tension filled the air. Security was tight. Ballots were cast. No envelopes exchanged openly. Whispers replaced shouting. When results were announced, Senator Bamidele won, narrowly. Some party elites looked disappointed, but the crowd outside did not riot. For once, there was no broken bottle, no gunshot, just tired people going home. Weeks later, during the general election, vote buying still happened in many areas. Change is not magic, but something was different in some communities. Voters began asking questions. What did you do last term? What is your plan for youth employment? Politicians were forced to speak beyond slogans. Education is powerful. Experience is a teacher. Nigeria has suffered from military rule, corruption scandals, election violence. Each painful chapter carries lessons. The question is whether we learn. Election results were announced. Senator Bamidele won the general election. Not by a landslide, but clearly. He did not celebrate loudly. He remembered the bullet. He remembered the blood on the white shirt. He remembered that power is temporary. Responsibility is heavier than title. Months later, he visited Musa's community quietly. No press, no siren. He saw Musa teaching small children basic literacy under a mango tree. "Why are you doing this?" the senator asked. Musa replied, "If they grow wiser, nobody will use them like they used us." The senator smiled. "That is how Nigeria will become better," he said. "Not through bullets, not through vote buying, but through awareness and accountability." Nigeria's betterment will not come overnight. It requires political leaders who fear history. It requires citizens who refuse to sell tomorrow for today's hunger. It requires youths who choose skills over thuggery. It requires transparency, justice, and courage. The separation between political class and lower class must reduce, not by speeches alone, but by policy, fairness, and opportunity. When leaders send their children to the same schools as the poor, education will improve. When leaders use the same hospitals as citizens, healthcare will improve. When elections are won by ideas instead of cash, governance will improve. 1 year later, Musa stood in line to vote again. Nobody offered him money. Nobody handed him rice. He smiled quietly, because this time his vote felt heavier, stronger, like it mattered. As for Senator Bamidele, he kept the torn campaign banner from the day of the assassination attempt. The bullet hole remained visible. He framed it on his office wall. Not as decoration, but as reminder. Power can attract death, but integrity can inspire life. And somewhere in Nigeria, another young boy watched politics unfolding. He would decide one day whether to carry a gun or carry a pen. The future of the nation will depend on that choice.